that support this supporting collective task. So bam, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 platoon level supporting collective tasks for this collective task. So construct an obstacle, construct earthen walls and berms, camouflage equipment, construct vehicle fighting positions, construct vehicle protector positions. Now it says that these tasks are engineer tasks. Don't get caught up in that. It does not matter that it says engineer right there. All that means is that the proponent that wrote these tasks out came from the engineer proponent. Because are they going to trust some ordnance warrant officer to write a collective task, TE&O, on how to construct protective earth walls and berms? No, because it's not their job all the time. So that's just, the subject matter expert who wrote the task and came up with it. It doesn't mean that, I'm not an engineer platoon leader, so I don't do this task. So please don't make that mistake. Happens all the time with this group project. All right, OP4 tasks. So there's your OP4. So OP4 is required for this task to be completed. There's the OP4 task. OP4 is going to do a recon. Supporting individual tasks. So these are individual tasks that you need to complete. Beforehand. And they are camouflage the equipment, determine requirements for deliberate fighting positions, and then camouflage yourself and your equipment. And then equipment. So here's the equipment that's identified you may need for the task. It looks like you're going to need some camouflage netting and some radios. TADS, it has no TADS identified. And then it's got your environment and your safety block. So that is another TE&O. So that is the main way to get to your medal, and then your medal tasks, your medal supporting collective tasks, and the collective or the individual collective tasks for those SCTs that they're made up of, along with the TE&Os. Do you have any questions about that so far?
Excuse me, sir. Second Lieutenant Butts, where you said the company, I think you said the company and the brigade, and it said approved. So how would you go about getting them to approve, or is it for the prerequisite task?
That all kind of depends on the type of training you're doing. So that's a company level task. In that company level task, it obviously identified prerequisites for brigade and company. You're just going to worry about your little platoon piece of the pie. So when I scrolled further down and those were those platoon level tasks, that's actually what the platoon leader is conducting with their platoon. Those company level tasks are going to be the entire company that would be delegated to you. And then those battalion level tasks would be performed by the battalion and delegated to the subordinates under it. So it's not really an approval process or you having to do any thinking. You just worry, I'm a platoon leader. This is what I have to do. This is what everyone tells me what to do. But company's going to take care of itself. Battalion's going to take care of itself.
So when you schedule training, it would be from the head down. That's what you're saying, sir.
Right. And I mean, there's not a lot of times you're going to be out training with the battalion. So typically the only times you're going to be training with your battalion is going to be, some sort of FTX, like battalion level FTX, or some sort of CalFlex, combined arms live fire exercise, or some kind of gunnery qualification. And your company is tasked to support during that time. What we're kind of tailoring this to is more of, we'll say, an active duty training schedule. So you're going to be training your platoon every Thursday. Thursday is sergeant's time training. That is the day that you are given to go conduct training. That Thursday is when you would be conducting those platoon level tasks. You would also be conducting 350-1 mandatory training, and you would also be conducting individual tasks as well, because some of those individual tasks make up that platoon level collective task. Every Thursday is when your training event is. If you're in the National Guard, it's your drill weekend. So there's 4 Thursdays in a month typically. Real Army, you get the first 3 Thursdays. So week 1 Thursday, week 2 Thursday, week 3 Thursday. Those are your sergeant's time training, and that's when you're training on these platoon level tasks and individual tasks and, sharp online. That last Thursday is usually a low density MOS training. Low density MOS training is a little different, where as in it's not an actual metal task. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to Google APD. All right, good. Let's follow me. All right, so I'm in APD eventually. Come on. Yep, we're on the APD website. I'm going to go to publications. It should be under, nope, not under technical. All right, so doctrine and training, and I'm going to go to ATP, Army Techniques Publications. That's not going to give me what I'm looking for. Where's the STP? There we go. So I'm going to go to publications, and I'm going to click on STP, which is Soldier Training Publications. So from there, this is the Army doctrine that lays out the tasks for every MOS. So that last Thursday of the month, your low density MOS training, you have to plan what you're going to train on. So first, you typically identify the MOSs that you have. So if you're ordnance, you're probably going to have 91 Bravo, 91 Charlie, 92 Alpha, 91 Juliet, 91 Delta, maybe some 94 Whiskeys or Foxes or 94 Echoes. So you identify your MOSs. And from there, you're not really going to plan this training because you're a platoon leader and you don't know what those MOSs are. You don't know what the soldiers need to work on in their MOS. You're just not a subject matter expert. It's also not your job. And if you try to do it, someone's going to throw something at you. So really, this is kind of where you have a platoon meeting and you're like, hey, what do you guys want to train for low density MOS training this Thursday, 3 months out? And your high-speed squad leaders give you tasks. Only your high-speed squad leaders don't give you actual task numbers, and they're just kind of making stuff up because they don't know. So this is where the officery job comes into play. You go, all right, what MOSs do we have that we're training on that Thursday? And they list them out. And then you go, okay, what tasks do you want to do? And they list the tasks. And then you go, cool. And you pull up the STP and you go, what skill levels are the soldiers? And they're going to give you mostly probably skill level 1 or skill level 2. That's going to be your junior soldiers' skill levels that they're going to be training them on. So they're going to go, skill level 1 or 2. And you go, cool. So then you pull up the STP And the good thing about APD is these are in kind of numerical order-ish. There's a few that are off. And we'll go, okay, STP 9-91 Bravo 13 SMT&G, the Soldier Manual and Trainer's Guide for MOS 91 Bravo Wheeled Vehicle Mechanics, skill levels 1 through 3. I'm going to click it off, or I'm going to click on it. I'm going to click on the PDF, and I'm going to email it to you, Staff Sergeant Perez. And Staff Sergeant Perez, review the manual and come up with, 3 Army-approved tasks that you want to train all the 91 Bravos on that Thursday. And you just go down the line with the MOS. This isn't going to be like squad-specific training. It's going to be MOS-specific training. If you have a platoon of mechanics, one of your squad, you could have 3 or 4 different MOSs in that squad. So you identify the trainers. Obviously, your most senior 91 Bravo is going to be the trainer for the 91 Bravo tasks. Your most, and that more all than likely would be your platoon sergeant. So really, it's not going to be the platoon sergeant. It'll be the second most senior, which is probably a staff sergeant, 91 Bravo, who's not a fool. And then the same thing with the 91 Deltas, the generator mechanics. Your most senior and competent 91 Delta is going to be leading the training for that. And so on and so forth with the different MOSs. Now, where you run into issues here is say you're Private Rodriguez and you're a 74 Delta. Private Rodriguez is the only 74 Delta in the maintenance company because that's all they're MTO'd. So in the whole company, Private Rodriguez is the only 74 Delta in the company. How does Private Rodriguez get his low density MOS training? Private Rodriguez, how do you get your low density MOS training?
Sir, I would download the trainers made, the STP from my MOS and train on whatever's listed in there. Most likely donning and doffing PPE, M53 mask, your JS list. Maintenance of Seaburn equipment is almost like to be the Seaburn specialist in my unit.
That would be the right answer. However, Private Rodriguez's platoon leader, which is probably also the company XO, has no idea what he does and realizes that all the masks need to be serviced. So Private Rodriguez's platoon leader, the company XO, just goes, hey, you're the Seaburn guy. Go service all the masks and do a pressure test on them and, make sure we have enough drinking tubes and filters. And Private Rodriguez is probably not going to tell First Lieutenant, I don't know what I'm doing, yes or no, just going to go, Roger, sir, and run away. It's MOSs like that you're going to have issues with. For the maintenance realm specifically, it would be something like your 91 Fox, your small arms repair. That's where the second lieutenant mafia comes into play. So in the FSC, way we got around this was in Bravo Maintenance Company of the Brigade Support Battalion, they have an armament repair shop. It's got a CW2 and a Sergeant First Class in charge of it. We figured out when they were doing low density MOS training, and every 91 Fox, small armament repair, just went to brigade and worked in that small arms shop, doing their specific MOS, which, it was only like 691 Foxes because there was only one in every FSC. So that's a way around it. You just find whatever the collective organization is and get with that leadership to try to schedule it. In Private First Class Rodriguez's situation, if I was his XO, I would go to the S3 section in the battalion, because more than likely in the battalion S3, they either have a Seaburn W01, sometimes it's a CW2, or a 74 Delta Staff Sergeant or Sergeant First Class, and go, hey, are you guys doing any Seaburn training for this month? I'd like to get, my CBurn cage guy in with everyone in the battalion so they can train on their MOS. So it's going to kind of the higher arching leadership of whoever may be in charge of that, and then just trying to get everybody in the organization in the training for that specific MOS. Because if you think a PFC is actually going to open the manual and try to train themselves, it's more than likely not going to happen. So that's kind of low density MOS training. A lot of people do it wrong. They're just like, oh, it's low density MOS training on Thursday. We're just going to go do our jobs. And for the motor pool, they just end up working, doing services, changing oil. And for transportation companies, they just end up loading up trucks and driving around and delivering stuff. That's not what low density MOS training is. It's supposed to be, the most high ranking enlisted subject matter experts in that MOS, training everyone in the organization. So in the platoon, and sometimes, higher if it's one of those strange MOSs that you may only have one person in, once a month on a specified set of tasks that's actually in the STP, not something some lazy ass staff sergeant made up, and done to a task condition standard. Properly planned and resourced. You as the lieutenant, it's your job to do the planning and the resourcing and make sure they're doing it right. For the NCOs, it's their job to be the subject matter expert and to actually execute the training to standard. So that's kind of the difference between you guys. Because as Rodriguez said, yeah, some like staff sergeant on his third divorce who hates the Army and soldier problems and is trying to drop a warrant packet so he can just skate by for the next 10 years. He's going to be like, yeah, this cherry lieutenant, we're just going to do services all day. Well, services isn't a task, and it's also what they do every day. That being said, that's where you go, no, pick 3 things out from this STP, present them to me. That's what we're going to train on, pending approval. And then, if people give you flack on that, that's where you get the platoon sergeant involved. Platoon daddy or platoon mama gives them a kick in the ass. If platoon sergeant is like my first platoon sergeant and is, retired on active duty, got a broken back, never shows up, you're basically the platoon leader doing everything on your own. That's where you get the first sergeant involved and let first sergeant put a boot in their ass. So that is low density MOS training in a nutshell. That being said, we're going to transition to platoon tasks. Rodriguez hinted at it. He basically gave you the spiel on what I'm about to go over, because so far we've kind of done overarching themes, company level, battalion level. We haven't actually looked at platoon level stuff, which is you. While that loads, do I have any questions? Crickets. All right, good. So what I did is I clicked on platoon tasks and TE&Os. So this button used to not exist. It used to make this class miserable because it took forever for us to find your actual platoon level tasks and TE&Os. We had to sift through all those collecting tasks, supported collecting tasks. And it took like 3 hours to get to where we needed to be for you specifically. They identified that issue with the website and they made this hot button. So you click on platoon tasks and TE&Os. From there, it's going to bring you up to this menu. It looks almost identical to the metal one. I'm going to be... All right, well, I'll just type the UIC in again. All right, so we'll go with the same UIC, Whiskey Juliet, Alpha Tango Hotel 0, and search. So it brings up the forward support company. Remember, every time you're pulling up these medals, you want to make sure it's for the forward support company, because the lowest level medal is for a company. So you want to make sure you're not pulling battalion level medals. Make sure it's your company. All right, so this is our company. This is our company medal. I'm going to click on it. And it's going to think. Sweet. So it's done all of the hard work for us. You notice it's not pulling any company level tasks. It's not pulling any, random weird supporting collective tasks. This is every platoon level task in that company level medal. I know that. So it's got the coding. The first two digits typically mean whatever reference number or proponent created the task. I think 05 is engineer. And then the middle three digits are what level it's supposed to be, individual, platoon, company. And then the last three are subsets of tasks. Anyways, so here's all the tasks that are in the medal. Now, how do I put this? This is where you have to have a little bit of knowledge, because this is for a forward support company. The forward support company has a maintenance platoon and it has a distribution platoon. The maintenance platoon handles maintenance. The distribution platoon handles getting supplies and delivering supplies. So they'll have a transportation section. They'll have a fuel and water section that delivers fuel and water. Transportation section is going to be delivering palletized things. So from there, these platoons aren't sorted by what platoon you're in. But, obviously, if I'm a maintenance platoon leader, I'm not going to train on the task that says transport palletized loads of ammunition. No, not my job description. Sorry. Perform passive air defense measures. That's going to apply to everybody because that's kind of a defense level task. Set up maintenance platoon headquarters and section. Well, if I'm the distribution platoon leader, I'm not going to be setting up a maintenance platoon headquarters. That task doesn't apply to me. So have a little bit of deduction when you're looking at these. So here's all these platoon level tasks for this whole company that you are theoretically in. Cool. So let's say that I am we'll switch it up. We'll say transportation platoon leader. And I click on this task, transport palletized loads of ammunition. Open it up. Here's my TE&O. Looks the exact same as all the other ones. Got the task, title, foreign disclosure, references, conditions, standard, live fire criteria, objective T, matrix. You'll notice this one's a little bit more specific. So we have remarks. So if you're going to train in a static single threat based off the objective T criteria, bam, static. A static training environment has aspects of operational variables needed to stimulate mission variables that are fixed throughout the unit's execution of the task. So you're going to go with a few OEs, or operational variables. And then it basically just defines it provides the definitions so you can gear your training towards what you're aiming for based on the TP or U. All right, we got notes, we got cues, we got our performance steps and measures, we got our task performance summary, supported missions, MOP statements, MVG statements. There we go, supporting objectives. There we go. This is what we're trying to get to through all this meat and potatoes. The supporting individual tasks. So we train in crawl, walk, run, correct? Correct. So when you're developing your training, you're planning your training in a crawl, walk, run. You could do crawl the first Thursday, walk the second Thursday, run the third Thursday on an individual level task or a platoon task. You could do crawl on every task that you want to train on the first Thursday. You could do walk on those same tasks the second Thursday. And then you could do run as some sort of like STX or a situational training exercise or something along those lines for some sort of culminating event for run. You know, or if it's something that your soldiers are good at, you could do the first Thursday of the month, you could do crawl on multiple tasks in the morning and then walk on multiple tasks in the afternoon. And then have the second Thursday be your walk, or I'm sorry, your run, to where you're doing some sort of like STX or FTX, where you're going to be in the run phase during those tasks. And then whenever your culminating event is when you're getting evaluated, going off of, and you know, someone's sitting there grading you based off these performance measures and the summary block for your iterations, that would be your run as well as your certification. But you're supposed to build up to it. These individual tasks, the supporting individual tasks, is how you're going to build up to this platoon level task. There's only two here: operate an Atlas forklift and manage preparation of handling military explosives. So basically, in order to perform this task, the soldiers doing it need to know how to operate a forklift and package and handle ammunition. And the overall task is transport palletized loads of ammo. So I guess it makes sense. It's fairly commonsensical, or at least logical. So that's kind of how you would apply this into the crawl, walk, run methodology, looking at your overall platoon tasks and the individual tasks themselves. So what we're going to do now is we're going to jump back to ATN, and we're going to click on TE&O task search. This button used to not exist either. All right. So this page used to not exist either. There was some hidden website you had to go look up individual tasks in, and it took us forever to get there too. They identified the problem and they fixed it. So, in order to make sure that your platoon is properly trained on the individual tasks that make up the platoon level supporting collective task, you need to look at what is required for that individual task, right? It's like the meeting before the meeting. It's the task before the task. So I'm just going to Control-C, and hopefully that copies correctly that task number. Put the task number there. For the task type, I'm going to click individual, and we're going to hit search and hope it shows up. And it does. Sometimes there's like really, really, really super oddly specific individual tasks that haven't been input into the system yet. So sometimes you may get a hit, sometimes you may not. All right, so here's that individual task. Same thing as always. I'm going to click on it. It's going to load. Got the page. Here is the task. Operate Atlas rough terrain forklift. Looks similar to a TE&O. Got the security classification, condition, standard, safety, risk, level, MOP, statements, warnings, performance steps. Much simpler. So I got performance step, warning statements with certain dangerous steps, the diagram that it told you to look at, because it teaches you how to start the forklift and then how to move the forklift based off that diagram, how to operate the forks, And then the same thing. It's a TE&O basically for an individual task. Performance measures, go, no go. Obviously, the criteria matrix isn't on here because it's an individual task. So this could just be someone evaluating Joe Schmo driving the forklift. Performance measures. Did they start it? Yes. Did they move it? Yes. Did they steer it? Yes. Did they operate the forks with a load? Sure. Did they stop it? Yeah. Were they able to turn it off? Yes. Bam. Individual task completed. Fairly easy. I mean, honestly, you could just go out, watch somebody do that, and it take 5 minutes. So when you're planning your training, please take time into account. Like, I've seen lieutenants say that, all right, it's the first Thursday of this month. We're in the walk phase for these tasks, so we're going to be training on the walk phase. And I go, you are? Yeah. What, all day? And they go, yes. And I go, so you mean to tell me that you're going to get up and do PT, and then you're going to go lock your whole platoon in a classroom with PowerPoint from 0830 to 1700? Somebody's going to take you in a closet and murder you if that happens. I highly suggest you don't do that. Because in reality, a lot of these tasks in the crawl phase are very simple and go by quickly. So you have to have kind of a guesstimate, okay, it's probably only going to take us 10 minutes to do this individual task in the run phase. So instead of locking everyone in a classroom all day and giving them a PowerPoint on how to move a forklift, we're just going to go down, we'll say specialist promotable is going to teach the task because we're also doing some leadership development. So they're going to teach everybody how to start and move the forklift with a load and shut it off. There's your crawl. Then walk. Specialist promotable is going to sit on the forklift while brand new private fresh out of AIT who didn't pay attention and was just scared the whole time jumps on the forklift and operates it. There's your walk. Run. All right, specialist promotable is going to jump off the forklift and watch Joe Schmo actually do multiple things with the forklift. There's your run. Bam. You did crawl, walk, run probably for this task in probably 2 hours. Maybe add an extra hour for more people. So please have some analysis when it comes to how long it is. And for crawl phase and walk phase, just don't plan on locking everybody in a classroom for 12 hours to teach nothing but PowerPoint. But there's the individual task, one of them that makes up the platoon task that you would be training on. Questions on how I got there or things like that?
Yes, sir. I have a question.
Yep.
So during the crawl and the walk phases, how often are you going to be objectively measuring the soldiers? Should be recording everything they're doing, or is it more subtle?
I mean, as a platoon leader and being probably not 100% knowing what I'm talking about, I would print the TE&Os off and basically just supervise and make sure that your trainers are doing their jobs to standards safely. One thing that we haven't really talked about that I usually hammer home is the 8-step training model. The 8-step training model has a process in here. I mean, you're not just making this stuff up every Thursday. You're using T+8. Really, by Captain Lasky standards, you're using T+12. And you're planning that training out over the course of 12 weeks. 8-step training model. Identify the training, identify the trainers, train the trainers, certify the trainers, publish the op order, conduct a recon, lock in all materials and training resources. So you should be taking those steps of the 8-step training model and putting them on your calendar, because typically a company training meeting goes, everybody sits down, they pull up a calendar, and then it's T+8. So where you're looking at a calendar 8 weeks out. All right, here's what we're doing for T+8. You've identified the training. This is the task you're going to train on. Then, you may have identified the trainers and identified the training area and any ammunition. And then you're going to go to T+7, and you're going to, all of that information would have been identified, but then maybe T+7, you're training the trainers as well. And then you're going to go to T+6, and it builds up every time. So T+6, you've identified the trainers, you've trained the trainers, you have located, or you've locked in the training area. So you have the location. Then, what was that, T+6? Yeah, okay. So T+5. You've trained the trainers, you've certified the trainers, you got the training area. T+5, you're going to recon the training area. You're going to identify where you're going to train within the training area. And then you're going to start identifying resources that you may need, internal and external, based off your recon. T+4, you lock in T+4, you're briefing T+4 for the next week. All the information is the same. Only thing changed, you've identified the internal, external requirements, and you have those internal and external requirements. So, you're going to need 2 LMTVs to transport troops. That's an internal requirement. You're going to need a water buffalo to provide water. That's going to be an internal requirement. You're going to need 369. We'll say you got a platoon of 30 people. You're going to need 90 MREs. That is an external requirement. You have to order MREs. You're going to want IED simulators and OPT-4 costumes with rubber ducks. That's an external requirement that you should have locked in by T+4. Or at least, T+3. Then T+3 comes out. You're briefing next week for T+3. You as the platoon leader. Everything is locked in and good to go. Trainers are trained. Trainers are certified. Training area is locked in. Ammunition has been ordered and locked in. Internal resources have been identified. Any shortcomings have been fixed. External resources have been identified and reserved. And then you've published your op order, or you've refined your op order, and you have all your products ready. T+2, no issues, no changes. Or T+2, some things came up. This is what changed. They told me to, go kick rocks because I'm a second lieutenant, captain, company commander. I need your help. T+1. All right, time to start doing our pre-PCCs, PCIs. I called range control and verified. We still have the land. Second squad leader went to TASC, the Training Aid Support Center, and checked out the 50 cal simulator and the OPT-4 costumes and the rubber ducks and stuff like that. So that's how a flow of a training meeting goes. You brief T8 to T week, and then T week. All right, we're going T week. Typically, company training meetings are on a Tuesday. So, sir, this Thursday, no change. We're going to execute the training. We're good. Then you brief T-1. So you brief what you did last week. Hey, sir, last week for training, we did this, this, and this. This is what went right. This is what went wrong. I typed up the formal AAR, and it's been input into DTMS. No issues or concerns. And then you brief T-2. Hey, sir, 2 weeks ago, this is how the training went. No changes to that. I input all the info into DTMS like you asked me to. And then I verified with the S3. It's all in there, been recorded. We're good. So you brief at a minimum at company level training meetings 8 weeks out to 2 weeks in the past. And that's kind of how the flow of that meeting goes using the 8-step training model and the crawl, walk, run methodology. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we're going to get a lot more into that this afternoon, but you guys got like 20 minutes to get to the bus and get to your cars. If you're like me, you probably have to like throw your boots on and some other things. So we're going to go ahead and cut it off now. I'll see you at the DFAC in... Let me double check these text messages I'm getting so the buses haven't changed. Oh, sweet. Jack wagons. All right, so for lunch today, bus is going to spot at 1200. For dinner, bus is going to spot at 1730. So you guys got 20 minutes to get dressed and make it to the bus. And I'll see you at roughly 12:15 at the DFAC and 1745. Not going to lie to you, expect some screwiness for the weekend. The commander says they were told that they can't get a bus this weekend, so they're trying to figure out how they're going to transport the 14 of you that need bus transportation for weekend food. More to follow. Anyways, I'll see you at 12:15, and then I'll see you at 1300 so we can finish going over all the Army websites and Army training, and I'll issue the assignment and explain the assignment in depth.
Thank you, sir.
Yep, Roger. Thank you, sir.
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 Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.